Few people realize that some of the habits they have carried their entire lives may actually reveal something much deeper about who they are. While most people move through the world focused on what is happening around them, there are others who seem to absorb every emotional signal, every shift in mood, and every unspoken feeling without even trying. They often notice tension before an argument begins. They feel exhausted after spending time with certain people even when nothing negative was said. They can walk away from a conversation carrying emotions that do not even belong to them. For years, many of these people believe they are simply too sensitive, too emotional, or too different from everyone else. But the truth may be far more surprising. Across cultures and throughout history, there have always been individuals who experience emotions in a way that goes far beyond ordinary empathy. These people are often called empaths. Yet despite how popular the word has become, very few people truly understand what it means. Being an empath is not just about being kind. It is not just about caring for others or feeling sympathy when someone is hurting. Genuine empaths often experience the emotional world on an entirely different level. They pick up on feelings that others overlook. They notice details hidden beneath words. They carry emotional weight that many people never even see. Because of this, their behavior can seem unusual, confusing, and sometimes even irrational to those around them. What makes this even more fascinating is that many of the habits empaths develop are not learned. They appear naturally. In fact, some of these behaviors are so common among genuine empaths that they almost feel like secret signs shared by people who experience the world in a similar way. Yet most people never connect these habits to empathy at all. They simply assume they are personality quirks or random behaviors. The reality is that there may be a deeper reason behind them. In today's video, we are going to uncover 7 weird things empaths do that only genuine empaths truly understand. Some of these behaviors may sound familiar immediately. Others might surprise you. A few may even explain experiences that have puzzled you for years. As we move through this list, you may begin to see why empaths often feel different from the people around them and why certain situations affect them in ways that seem impossible to explain. More importantly, you will discover that many of these unusual habits are not weaknesses at all. They are often signs of a mind that processes emotions in a unique and powerful way. What makes this topic especially interesting is that some of the traits we will discuss are rarely mentioned in typical conversations about empathy. Most people have heard that empaths care deeply about others. But far fewer people know about the hidden struggles, unexpected patterns, and strange behaviors that often come with that sensitivity. These lesser-known signs can reveal a side of empathy that many people never talk about. They can also help explain why some empaths spend years feeling misunderstood, isolated, or completely out of place. Make sure you stay with us until the very end, because the final sign on this list is one that many genuine empaths experience but rarely discuss openly. In fact, it is often the behavior that causes the most confusion in relationships, friendships, and everyday life. Many people dismiss it as odd or unnecessary without realizing what is really happening beneath the surface. Once you understand it, you may never look at empathy the same way again. As this video continues, pay close attention to how many of these signs resonate with you. The more of them you recognize, the more likely it is that your emotional experiences run deeper than you may have realized. You might finally understand why certain environments drain you, why certain people affect you so strongly, and why your reactions sometimes seem different from everyone else's. For some viewers, this video may simply be interesting. For others, it may provide answers that have been missing for a very long time. So settle in and keep watching, because each point builds on the one before it, revealing a clearer picture of what life is really like for a genuine empath. By the end, you may discover that some of the habits you once questioned are actually connected to one of the most misunderstood personality traits in the world today. Welcome to the channel. If you enjoy exploring psychology, human behavior, empathy, and the hidden patterns that shape our lives, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. Now, let's begin with the first weird thing empaths do that most people never understand. One of the weirdest things genuine empaths do is absorb the mood of a room almost instantly. This can happen before a single word is spoken. While most people enter a space and focus on what they can see, empaths often notice what they can feel. They walk into a meeting, a family gathering, a classroom, or even a casual social event and immediately sense that something feels different. The atmosphere itself seems to communicate information. A room may appear calm on the surface, yet an empath can feel tension hiding underneath. They may not know exactly what happened or who is involved, but they can sense that the emotional energy in the room is not completely comfortable. This experience is difficult to explain to someone who has never felt it. From the outside, it can seem irrational. After all, how can a person detect emotions that nobody has openly expressed? Yet many empaths describe this as one of the most common parts of their daily lives. What makes this even more interesting is that empaths are often correct. Later, they may discover that two people had an argument before everyone arrived. They may learn that someone in the room is struggling with stress, sadness, or frustration. They may find out that a hidden conflict existed beneath the polite smiles and casual conversations. The empath did not magically know this information. Instead, they picked up on dozens of tiny details that other people overlooked. A slight change in someone's voice, a forced smile that lasted a little too long, a pause between sentences, a nervous glance, a subtle shift in body language. The human brain is constantly collecting information, but empaths seem especially tuned in to emotional signals. Their minds process these details quickly, often without conscious effort, creating a strong emotional impression before they even understand why they feel that way. This sensitivity can sometimes become overwhelming. Picture walking into a room full of people who are anxious, frustrated, stressed, or upset. Most individuals may notice one or two emotional cues. An empath may absorb dozens of them at the same time. Instead of simply observing the tension, they feel it. Instead of recognizing sadness, they experience traces of that sadness themselves. This is one reason many empaths become exhausted in environments filled with conflict. They are not just witnessing emotional energy around them, they are constantly processing it. Another unusual aspect of this trait is that emotional shifts often become noticeable to empaths before anyone else recognizes them. A conversation may seem completely normal to everyone at the table, yet the empath senses a change. The atmosphere feels heavier. The energy becomes uncomfortable. There is a feeling that someone is holding back emotions. Minutes later, an argument starts, a difficult topic appears, or hidden feelings finally come to the surface. Experiences like this can make empaths seem unusually perceptive. Friends and family members sometimes wonder how they knew something was wrong. The empath often struggles to answer because there was no single clue. It was a collection of tiny signals that formed a clear emotional picture. Many empaths also notice hidden discomfort between people. Two individuals may be smiling and speaking politely, yet the interaction feels strained. The words sound friendly, but the emotional tone feels different. There is a disconnect between what is being said and what is being felt. While others focus on the conversation itself, the empath notices the emotional layer beneath it. This hidden layer often reveals more than the actual words being spoken. In many situations, people communicate their true emotions through subtle behaviors rather than direct statements. Empaths tend to notice these behaviors naturally. Psychologists often explain this by pointing to heightened awareness of emotional cues. Human beings constantly communicate through facial expressions, tone of voice, posture, eye contact, and countless other nonverbal signals. Most of this communication happens below conscious awareness. Empaths appear to process these signals more deeply than average. As a result, they often develop a remarkably accurate understanding of the emotional state of those around them. What feels mysterious is often the result of careful emotional observation happening at a level they cannot easily describe. This ability can be helpful, but it can also create challenges. An empath may enter a perfectly ordinary day feeling calm and balanced. Then they spend time around stressed people and suddenly feel anxious themselves. They may leave a difficult conversation carrying emotions that did not originally belong to them. Sometimes they struggle to separate their own feelings from the feelings they absorb from others. This can create confusion because they may not realize where the emotional weight is coming from. They simply know that their mood has changed. Over time, many empaths learn to become cautious about the environments they enter. They notice that certain places leave them energized while others leave them drained. Large crowds, intense workplaces, family conflicts, and emotionally charged situations can feel particularly exhausting. It is not because they dislike people, In fact, many empaths genuinely care about others. The challenge comes from the constant flow of emotional information entering their awareness. While most people can filter out much of this information automatically, empaths often absorb far more than they realize. But sensing emotions is only the beginning. Another habit that confuses many people is the amount of time empaths need to spend alone. To outsiders, this desire for solitude can seem contradictory. Empaths are often caring, compassionate, and emotionally connected to others. Yet despite valuing relationships deeply, they frequently need far more personal space than most people. This is one of the biggest misunderstandings surrounding empathy. Many people assume that someone who cares deeply about others should constantly enjoy being around people. The reality is often very different. After social events, many empaths feel emotionally drained in ways they struggle to explain. Even enjoyable gatherings can leave them exhausted. They may spend time with close friends, family members, or people they genuinely love and still feel the need to retreat afterward. This does not mean they had a bad experience. It does not mean they dislike the people they spent time with. Instead, their minds have been processing emotional information continuously throughout the interaction. While everyone else may simply remember the conversation, the empath often remembers the emotions behind every conversation as well. During a social gathering, an empath may unconsciously monitor how everyone is feeling. They notice who seems uncomfortable. They notice who appears left out. They notice who is happy, stressed, frustrated, excited, or worried. Their attention naturally moves toward emotional details. Although they rarely do this intentionally, it requires mental and emotional energy. By the time the event ends, they may feel as though they have been carrying the emotions of an entire group. This is why solitude becomes so important. Alone time allows empaths to reset. It gives them an opportunity to separate their own emotions from the emotions they have absorbed throughout the day. In a quiet environment, they can finally process everything they have been feeling. Many empaths describe this as a necessary form of emotional recovery. Without enough time alone, they may become overwhelmed, irritable, or mentally exhausted. Interestingly, this need for solitude often creates misunderstandings in relationships. Friends may assume the empath is becoming distant. Family members may think they are withdrawing. Partners may worry that something is wrong. In reality, the empath may simply be trying to recharge. Their desire for quiet has very little to do with rejecting people and everything to do with restoring emotional balance. Some empaths even feel the need for solitude after spending time with people they love most. This can seem confusing because the experience itself was enjoyable. Yet emotional processing does not stop simply because the interaction was positive. Deep conversations, emotional connections, and meaningful experiences still require mental energy. As a result, empaths often seek moments of silence even after wonderful social experiences. The deeper an empath processes emotional information, the more valuable this quiet time becomes. Solitude allows them to reflect, organize their thoughts, and reconnect with their own feelings. Without it, emotional information can continue building until it becomes overwhelming. Many empaths eventually realize that protecting their alone time is not selfish. It is necessary for maintaining emotional health, and that emotional overload creates another strange habit. Once the conversation ends and everyone goes home, most people gradually move on with their day. Empaths, however, often continue thinking about the interaction long after it is over. Hours later, they may still be replaying parts of the conversation in their minds. Days later, they may still remember specific details that others have completely forgotten. A simple exchange can become the subject of deep reflection. An empath may think about what was said, how it was said, and what the other person might have been feeling during the interaction. They revisit moments repeatedly, searching for emotional meaning beneath the surface. A slight hesitation in someone's voice can capture their attention. A brief pause before answering a question can trigger curiosity. A change in facial expression can become something they analyze for hours. This tendency is not always driven by worry. Sometimes it comes from genuine curiosity about human emotions. Empaths naturally want to understand people. They want to know what others are experiencing beneath the surface. As a result, conversations often continue in their minds long after they end in real life. They may wonder whether someone was hiding sadness. They may question whether a friend seemed more stressed than usual. They may replay a sentence and notice emotional details they missed in the moment. While others focus mainly on the words spoken, empaths frequently focus on the emotions connected to those words. This creates a much deeper level of reflection. Their minds become investigators of emotional experiences. Every tone of voice, every expression, and every subtle reaction can feel significant. They search for patterns, they examine context. They look beyond what was said and focus on what might have remained unspoken. In many cases, this process helps them understand people more deeply. It allows them to recognize emotional needs that others overlook. At the same time, this habit can become exhausting. Constant reflection requires energy. The empath's mind rarely settles for simple explanations. It wants to understand every emotional layer of an interaction. This is why some empaths find themselves thinking about conversations late at night when everyone else has already forgotten them. Sometimes this deep thinking leads to something even stranger. Another behavior that many genuine empaths experience is the ability to sense that something is wrong before anyone openly talks about it. This is often misunderstood because people assume it must be some kind of mysterious gift. In reality, it is usually much more grounded than that. Empaths tend to pay attention to emotional details that most people overlook. Their minds are constantly collecting information from facial expressions, body language, tone of voice, energy levels, and behavior patterns. Because they are so tuned in to these subtle changes, they often notice emotional shifts long before others do. A person may walk into work acting completely normal on the surface, smiling, making conversation, and going through their daily routine. Most people see nothing unusual. The empath, however, notices that the smile seems forced. The voice sounds slightly different. The person's responses are shorter than usual. Eye contact is weaker. Their energy feels lower. None of these signs alone mean much, but together they create a picture that suggests something is wrong. This happens in friendships as well. An empath may suddenly feel concerned about someone even when there is no obvious reason. A close friend might text exactly the way they always do, yet something feels different. The words are the same, but the emotional tone has changed. The empath notices it immediately. Sometimes they ask if everything is okay and receive the standard answer that nothing is wrong. Then days later, the truth comes out. The person was struggling with stress, anxiety, relationship problems, or personal difficulties the entire time. Experiences like this happen so often that many empaths stop ignoring these feelings. They learn to trust their observations because they have seen them proven right again and again. What makes this ability remarkable is that it often works through tiny behavioral shifts. Most people have emotional patterns. They speak in certain ways, move in certain ways, and react to situations in predictable ways. Empaths become familiar with these patterns. As a result, even the smallest change stands out. They notice when someone laughs less than usual. They notice when a normally energetic person becomes quiet. They notice when confidence turns into hesitation. These details may seem insignificant, but they often reveal emotional struggles before words ever do. This heightened awareness can sometimes feel like carrying an invisible radar. The empath enters a room and quickly notices who feels comfortable and who does not. They notice who seems distracted. They notice who is forcing positivity. They notice who is carrying emotional weight. While others focus on conversations and activities, the empath is often reading emotional signals in the background without even realizing it. Ironically, this ability can become frustrating. Empaths often see problems developing long before other people recognize them. They may sense tension building in a relationship. They may notice emotional exhaustion in a friend. They may detect signs of burnout in a coworker. Yet because the problem has not become obvious yet, people sometimes dismiss their concerns. Later, when the issue finally surfaces, the empath is rarely surprised. They have been watching the emotional warning signs all along. Many empaths also struggle with what to do when they notice these changes. They genuinely care about people and want to help. However, they know that not everyone is ready to talk. This creates an internal conflict. They can see that someone is hurting, but they cannot force that person to open up. They often find themselves waiting patiently, knowing that the truth will eventually emerge when the other person feels ready. Over time, this awareness becomes one of the most defining traits of empathy. It is not about predicting the future. It is not about reading minds. It is about observing human behavior so carefully that emotional changes become visible long before they become obvious to everyone else. Empaths notice the cracks before the wall breaks. They notice the storm before the rain begins. They see emotional shifts developing beneath the surface while everyone else remains focused on appearances. Unfortunately, this ability often attracts a certain kind of person. One of the strangest experiences many empaths share is how quickly troubled people seem to find them. It does not matter where they are. It can happen at work, during social gatherings, while traveling, or even during brief conversations with complete strangers. Somehow, people with emotional burdens often feel comfortable opening up to them almost immediately. A conversation that starts casually can suddenly turn deeply personal. Within minutes, the other person may be discussing heartbreak, family problems, fears, regrets, or painful life experiences. Meanwhile, the empath is left wondering why people feel so comfortable sharing such private information. This pattern appears so frequently that many empaths eventually stop seeing it as a coincidence. There seems to be something about their presence that encourages honesty. Perhaps it is their calm demeanor. Perhaps it is the way they listen without judgment. Perhaps it is the genuine interest they show in others. Whatever the reason, people often sense that they are safe to talk to. In a world where many conversations remain shallow, empaths create an environment where deeper emotions feel welcome. Friends often rely heavily on them for support. Whenever a crisis appears, the empath becomes the first person people call. Whenever someone feels overwhelmed, confused, or heartbroken, they seek out the empath. Over time, this can lead to a familiar role. The empath becomes the listener, the advisor, the comforter, the emotional support system. Even when they never ask for this responsibility, it somehow finds them. Some empaths discover that nearly every friendship includes this dynamic. Conversations repeatedly revolve around other people's struggles. They spend hours helping others process emotions, solve problems, and recover from difficult experiences. They become experts at offering comfort. They know how to listen. They know how to make people feel understood. They know how to create emotional safety. The problem is that many people grow comfortable receiving support without realizing that the empath also has emotional needs. Because empaths appear strong and understanding, others sometimes assume they never need help themselves. This assumption can create an imbalance. The empath becomes everyone's therapist while quietly carrying their own emotional challenges alone. Another reason troubled people are drawn to empaths is that they feel genuinely seen. Many individuals spend years hiding parts of themselves from the world. They wear masks, they suppress emotions, they avoid vulnerability. Then they meet someone who listens carefully and notices what others miss. That experience can feel incredibly powerful. For the first time in a long while, they feel understood. Yet this constant role as emotional caretaker comes with challenges. Every story shared carries emotional weight. Every struggle discussed leaves an impression. Every painful experience absorbed requires energy to process. While helping others can feel meaningful, it can also become exhausting when there is no balance. Many empaths eventually realize that being compassionate does not mean they must carry every burden placed before them. However, learning this lesson is often difficult because of another habit that seems almost universal among empaths. But helping everyone comes at a cost. One of the biggest struggles many empaths face is saying no. On the surface, this may sound simple. Most people understand that boundaries are important. Most people recognize that it is impossible to help everyone all the time. Yet for empaths, setting those boundaries often feels far more complicated. The challenge begins with understanding. Empaths naturally see the emotional side of every situation. When someone asks for help, they do not simply hear the request. They understand the emotions behind it. They see the stress. They see the fear. They see the disappointment. They see the struggle. Because they understand what the other person is experiencing. Saying no can feel incredibly difficult. Even when they are exhausted, they often continue giving. Even when they need rest, they continue helping. Even when their own responsibilities are piling up, they still make room for someone else's problems. This happens because empathy creates emotional connection. The suffering of others feels real to them. Ignoring it can trigger guilt. Many empaths become experts at putting other people first. They cancel plans to help friends. They sacrifice personal time. They delay their own goals. They take on responsibilities that were never theirs to begin with. At first, this behavior may appear generous. In many ways, it is. However, when it becomes a pattern, it can lead to emotional burnout. The guilt associated with saying no can be surprisingly intense. An empath may spend hours worrying about disappointing someone. They may replay the situation repeatedly, wondering whether they made the right decision. They may feel responsible for emotions that were never theirs to manage. This emotional burden often pushes them to keep giving even when they have very little left to offer. The result is a cycle that many empaths know all too well. They help until they are exhausted. They ignore their own needs. They become overwhelmed. Then they retreat to recover. Once they feel better, they start helping again. Breaking this cycle requires learning that compassion and boundaries can exist together. Yet this lesson often takes years to fully understand. And perhaps the strangest habit of all is the last one. After spending so much time absorbing emotions, helping others, and navigating the emotional complexity of human relationships, many empaths find themselves drawn toward places where emotional noise becomes quieter. This is one reason so many of them feel deeply connected to nature and animals. While people can be unpredictable, complicated, and emotionally demanding, nature offers a different experience entirely. Many empaths describe an immediate sense of calm when they spend time around animals. There is a simplicity to those interactions that feels refreshing. Animals do not hide behind social masks. Their emotions are direct. Their intentions are clear. They do not play emotional games or create unnecessary drama. This honesty often feels comforting to people who spend much of their lives navigating complex emotional environments. Nature provides a similar experience. A quiet forest, a peaceful lake, a mountain trail, or even a simple walk through a park can feel deeply restorative. The constant emotional signals present in crowded social environments begin to fade. The mind becomes quieter. The nervous system relaxes. For a while, there is no pressure to analyze emotions, solve problems, or absorb the energy of others. Many empaths find that their thoughts become clearer in natural environments. Stress begins to fade. Emotional overload starts to ease. The mental noise that builds throughout daily life gradually settles. This is why some empaths instinctively seek nature whenever they feel overwhelmed. It becomes a place of recovery, a place where they can reconnect with themselves. Even small experiences can have a powerful effect. Sitting beneath a tree, listening to birds, watching waves move across water, spending time with a pet. These moments often provide a sense of peace that feels difficult to find elsewhere. In a world filled with constant stimulation, nature offers something many empaths desperately need: emotional quietness. As we reach the end of this journey, one thing becomes clear. The habits we discussed today may seem unusual to many people. Absorbing the mood of a room, needing long periods of solitude, replaying conversations, sensing emotional changes before anyone speaks about them, attracting troubled people, struggling to say no, and finding comfort in nature and animals can all appear strange from the outside. But for genuine empaths, these experiences are often a normal part of everyday life. For years, many empaths question themselves. They wonder why they feel things so deeply. They wonder why certain environments drain them while others feel peaceful. They wonder why they seem to notice emotions that everyone else misses. Some even spend a large part of their lives believing there is something wrong with them. Yet the truth is often the exact opposite. Empathy is not weakness. It takes strength to care in a world that often encourages people to disconnect. It takes courage to remain compassionate when others become indifferent. It takes resilience to keep an open heart after experiencing disappointment, hurt, and emotional exhaustion. Sensitivity is not a flaw. In many ways, it is a unique form of awareness that allows people to understand others on a deeper level. At the same time, empathy comes with an important responsibility. Genuine empaths must learn that caring for others should never require abandoning themselves. Protecting your energy is not selfish. Setting boundaries is not cruel. Taking time to rest is not a sign of weakness. The healthiest empaths are not the ones who give everything away. They are the ones who learn how to balance compassion with self-respect. Perhaps the most important lesson is this: you do not have to carry every burden you encounter. You do not have to solve every problem. You do not have to save every person who enters your life. Sometimes the greatest act of empathy is understanding where your responsibility ends and where someone else's journey begins. If you recognized yourself in several of these signs, Then you may have finally found an explanation for experiences that never seemed to make sense before. And if you know someone who displays these behaviors, hopefully this video has helped you understand them a little better. Now we would love to hear from you. Which of these 7 signs describes you the most? Was there one that felt surprisingly accurate? Let us know in the comments below. Your story might help someone else realize they are not alone. If you enjoyed this video and want more content about empathy, psychology, human behavior, and personal growth, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss our future videos. And if you found value in what you learned today, please take a moment to like this video and share it with someone who might need to hear this message. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. And remember this: the world may not always understand the empath, but the ability to feel deeply while remaining kind is one of the rarest qualities a person can possess. We'll see you in the next video.